These Makitas have an overload protector, so you can work them pretty hard, and when they cut out, just push a button, they'll be back. Let it cool down a little bit before you get going to it, and just be a little bit lighter. That rear weld looks really bad, so yeah, it broke. Excellent. Alright, so this is how it was welded in here, but it was these holes here were for the motor. Good news is those holes are in between these pieces of iron, and these holes are not. So I can just make up a new plate that fits on here, bolts down with these holes, and the motor, I can have slots for it so that it can move in and out and get the right belt tension. Alright, more or less 8-inch. Those holes are at, okay, that one's at 1. Sometimes it's, instead of lining up the end of your tape with the center of a hole, go with the edge, put the 1 on it. So 7 3/4 is the centers on these holes. So that's we know how wide it needs to be. I use a 2 over here. Caught myself. That's not 7 3/4. That's 6 3/4. You gotta subtract that 1. Don't be a dummy and subtract your base. So if we start at 2, that goes to 6 3/4, which is 4 3/4. So 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. Then we gotta go check what the base on our motor is. So these are 3 by anywhere from 6 to 4, so that's going to work pretty good. So these are slotted to give you travel there, but I'm probably just going to slot that base plate, give it a couple inches each way, then we can really move it around. Something else I didn't show you earlier, when I was trying to figure out to order my hoses. Let me grab a fitting here. This is a really handy guide I got from my dad. It has, you can take existing fittings and measure them and know what they are. Where is it? Because this is a National Pipe Thread fitting. Here we go. So iron pipe thread fittings. This is a male thread, and we just have to measure the OD, and we know what the nominal pipe size is. Okay, so that's we're coming up about 680. It depends on where you hit on this taper here, because it can be there's 640, there's 675, but a 43/64 is 678. Which again, we're still only getting 675, but that is going to be a 3/8 fitting. You can also get your thread gauge on here, because this also has the number of threads per inch. It does the same thing on the other end. You got over here, you can check the ID. So that is 742. Which is essentially 3/4, so that's a half. That's a ½ inch. So this is a 3/8 to half right angle adapter. But this chart, that's a Gates hydraulic hose coupling thread identification guide. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. You've got in addition to the pipe thread, you've got JIC, the SAE flare, you got O-ring boss port, bulkhead fittings. This is really handy because when you have like these fittings up on that press and the gear, well, here, let me just take you over and show it. So for example, this fitting right here on the valve, you can just come in here and measure that. See that you've got 845, and if we go back and check out our chart again, alright, pipe thread fitting, okay, 27-30 seconds is about, yep, that's 843. So that is a 1/2 inch 14 thread. So I was able to just measure all the fittings on that press. There you go. This was a free guide, so I ain't giving nothing away here. I could just go around and measure everything, and I knew what size, nominal size of fittings and hoses and everything to buy. So all that stuff's here. I want to get the motor mounted, because this is all the dirty work, all the grinding, the welding. Well, it looks like I won't have to weld. I just did the grinding. Drill some holes, bolt that thing on there, get the motor and the pulley and the belt mounted back on there. Then I can mess with, actually I'll leave the belt off, keep it clean. Then we can do all of the oil work. That way we're keeping all iron filings and any contamination out of the hydraulics on this thing so we don't ruin the pump. So motor mounts next. We'll get that thing made and put it on there.